past or done a demo before. And so I'm really excited to show a more tailored demo for those, and then to show for those that haven't seen anything yet so that you guys can see what CloudCompli has to offer. I'm going to keep the slide part of this very short because the most important part, as I'm sure you guys are excited about, is actually seeing the demo of the platform. So just a tiny bit of background on CloudCompli. You know, we are a stormwater management and compliance platform. We are specific to the stormwater world through construction, industrial, and MS4 and PDES permits. We do have a lot of experience with MS4s nationwide, especially here. We're based in Southern California, so we have a lot, of course, in California, as that's where we got our start, but we have a lot throughout the country, including Honolulu, city of Bossier in Louisiana, just to name a few, that have a lot of strict restrictions. And the source control program here in California has been around, I think, for like the last 3 or 4 years. So I'll definitely focus in on business inspections and more of the source control. But just so you know, we are able to handle the entire MS4 program, which is, as you guys all know, very key to just make the MS4 and PDES management more streamlined, as well as making the annual reporting a lot less cumbersome. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and show all of that today. Yeah, so some of the stuff that we focus a lot on is the flexibility and the configurability. So while we already have a lot of existing MS4s, we build it is an out-of-the-box solution, but we have a lot of configuration so that it makes sense for whatever your program looks like. Even within the state of Washington, there's a lot of different ways that you're running your program. So we want to make sure that the configurations are there and that there's flexibility to fit with your workflow while still making it more streamlined and increasing the visibility. But we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want to go along with your workflow processes. So that will be reflected throughout the demonstration. We do have a lot of experience within the stormwater compliance world, and we're always, enhancing that. So we do come at it from that standpoint, and we work really close with our clients to ensure that if there is a feature that is missing for the requirements, that we will go ahead and work to build that into it. So yeah, flexibility, and then going into accountability, having that visibility into your entire MS4 program. You might want to start with just the source control and the business and facility management, and maybe some of the asset with the outfalls, but eventually bringing on the construction, the post-construction, O&M, public education, and outreach. You can have peace of mind that when it makes sense for you, you can have that all on one platform. And then there's a lot of data analytics behind that will continue to increase your visibility and the accountability, help you with your annual reporting to the Department of Ecology. And I'll talk through that as well. And most importantly, when you're going into technology, we want to, once again, we're not trying to make your life harder. We're trying to make it easier. So we put a lot of focus on the usability, the user interface. I always say that if you can send an email, you can utilize CloudCompli. So hopefully I'll be able to show that throughout the presentation as well. And this is what we've been told from our MS4s, what they typically have going on with their MS4 program management before utilizing CloudCompli. A lot of times there's things and they're using a lot of different programs, maybe. Excuse me. And I've heard this from some of the Washington cities as well. Maybe the construction and development, they're using a software. Maybe it might be Trackit, it might be a planning software. You might have your IDDEs in a fillable PDF as well as Excel spreadsheet. You might have your public education and outreach in a spreadsheet. You haven't been doing source control inspections, as that's not something that has been mandated before now. So that's completely brand new. So really it's the MS4 management is being handled in a lot of different areas. And then when you have to bring it all together for the annual report, as well as just general tracking for the for your requirements, sometimes things might get lost, or they might have to be pulled from lots of different programs and Excel spreadsheets and emails. So with CloudCompli, we're wanting to, I'm just going to skip through all of this. We're wanting to make it look more like this through use of digital data collection and doing all of your inspections, ideally through the application, having all your source controls and your BMPs and tracking your assets in one place, tracking deficiencies, enforcements, maintenance activity, everything in one place, so that you can, when you're running your annual report or when anything gets asked from you, you can say, oh yeah, we'll go right here to CloudCompli. And so that's what I hope that I'll demonstrate throughout the presentation, is how easy it is to manage the MS4 program in one platform. But if you're not, if sometimes it might not make sense to put it all in one platform, you still might use one or two others. We do have a lot of emphasis on communicating with other platforms, maybe like such as a CityWorks or Esri GIS system or anything like that. A lot of times we will communicate with them and can push and pull information through our API. So that is something to keep in mind as well. We're very big on centralization and visibility, regardless of what platforms you're using. If they can work with us, we'll try to work with them. So I'm gonna actually, with that, just go ahead and jump into the presentation or the actual demo. And like Lori said, if you have questions throughout, please feel free to put them in the chat box. I will address them at the end. Hopefully, I'll be able to answer everything. And I did get a list of questions beforehand, so I'm really gonna try to focus my demo on the things that seem to matter the most to you guys. So right away, we're looking at the stormwater compliance platform from a centralization and increased visibility, everything all in one place. That's really what this dashboard is designed for. And then along the side, you can see a lot of different programs that we can turn on or off depending on your specific needs. So while, one city might have everything in one department, or might have all of their departments utilizing this, so construction, industrial and commercial, fixed assets, outfalls, we can turn those on. But maybe for another city, they might just want to start with their source control and the industrial and commercial sites. And so that's all that we would turn on. The other big benefit is you can name these programs whatever you would like, so that it's in your language. That's another thing that we believe strongly in, is that it's really designed to fit with your program. So for example, I have a city here in California that wanted to name this just their business inspection program. And they named their post-construction, they just named it O&M. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And then you'll also see that within the program themselves, when you're doing the inspections, all of those forms are custom built. So we will take your inspection form, maintenance form, NOV letters, all of that. So I'll show you some examples that we've done, but just keep in mind that the inspection forms, assessments, any checklist, those can all be custom built. So from the dashboard, this is going to be across all of your programs that are, or in all of your sites that are inside this system. So this particular demo site has 44 active sites. Currently, there's 34 open deficiencies. When I was combing through the Washington MS4 permit, something that stood out to me, that stands out to me in all of the permits, is it's really important to track inspection activity as well as open action items and how those action items got resolved. So that's something we really put a lot of focus on. Visibility into open action items, even being able to assign these either internally or externally, which I'll show. Keeping track of inspections that may have been missed. We can turn on different time-based requirements to fit with your different programs. So maybe for your business and source control inspection, some of them might have to be done annually, where others might be every 2 years or every 5 years. Your outfalls, there might need to be maintenance every 6 months. However, whatever the different requirements are, we can turn those on, and then the system can notify you if there has been a missing inspection. So once again, throughout all of this, it's about the visibility. Same thing with open deficiencies, and you may call them action items, you might call them corrective actions, but maintenance activity, anything like that, we can put a due date to it and then have the system notify you if something's been overdue. And a lot of that is all customized and configured by you, and we can help with that. And then we do have integration with Esri. If you have ArcGIS online, they have a specific API, which is just the way that systems talk to each other, that we can pull in from and even expose certain layers, conveyance systems. And I know that that's another big drive right now with Washington permits, is tracking the assets, tracking where the different outfalls are along the waterways, the conveyance systems, all of that, and being able to, when you're doing an IDDE or when you're looking at a potential discharge from a facility, it would be good to be able to turn on those conveyances and those waterways and GIS layers to see, where the potential discharge could go to. So that's something that we've worked with some of our clients to turn on different layers. And that would just be an individual discussion to see what your GIS system looks like. But GIS is a big drive in all permits. And I do know that that's a big drive in the Washington MS4 permit. So that's pretty much everything from the dashboard that I wanted to go over. I will go into a certain program. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to focus in today on the industrial and commercial sites program, because this is where you would set up your source control program, and you can literally call it source control if you would like. But just so you know, all of our inspectable programs, and what I mean by inspectable program is anything that will have to have an inspection done on it. So like the construction, new and redevelopment, post-construction or O&M, outfalls, municipal fixed assets, including yards and LIDs and detention ponds and all of that. Those are all what we consider inspectable programs. They're all going to be set up very similarly, but then we can do customizations in terms of the location type, which I'll go into in a little bit, as well as just what forms are attached and what workflows we're utilizing. So that's just something to keep in mind, because I won't have time to go through all of the programs. But I do know that a big driver of this was big in the business inspection group. And so that's why I want to focus more in on the industrial and commercial sites. So when you go into a program, this is what you're going to see initially. You're going to once again have a map, but this map is just going to have the locations or sites within the specific program. You're then going to have a list of all of the sites down below. I've been asked before in terms of accessibility of data. Just so you know, we are a cloud-based platform. We are able to be accessed through all modern devices. So whether it's a laptop, computer, tablet, phone, through your web browser. We also do have offline capabilities for, I know that there's a lot of times that you might be inspecting or there might be something in a dead zone. So you just want to sync those locations you're going to that day. And we have a mobile app that has offline capabilities. So that's another area. I'm going to try to highlight some areas that we might have extra value above others. So and the full mobile offline access is a big thing, as well as the fact that while we are a web-based platform and the data is stored within the cloud, you guys own your data. So we make it very easy to export the data off as well as import the data on. It's very easy to even customize these columns and then export this into an Excel spreadsheet if you need to get the data off for any reason. And I know that with the Department of Ecology, some of the ways that they want you to submit the information could be in Excel. And so we make sure that you can export to Excel very easily. So yeah, so you're gonna have these, the sites all listed down below. So these are everything in my business program or facilities and sites, commercial, industrial, business sites. We have what we call location types, and this is really important. This needs to be defined. We work with you during when we onboard, or you might hear me just call it configuration, but we work with you to set these up. And this is what drives the time-based requirement, as well as if there is weather-based requirements and what form and workflows are happening. So within here in California, just to give you a little bit of insight, because like I said, they've had a source control program here for a while. They usually have a location type called high, medium, and low. And their high has to be inspected annually, medium, I think it's like every 2 years, low is every 3 years. So once we set up those location types, once the site is associated with that location type, the system will automatically know, okay, it has to be inspected this often. It'll know if there's a weather-based requirement. It will know what form is being used. Furthermore, to further filter, because I'm sure, you know, a lot of cities might have hundreds of facilities, to further compartmentalize those and really drive the priority, we utilize location tags. And the way I've seen cities use these is sometimes they'll do it by inspector, like every inspector will have a location tag or department. They also will do it by region of the city, or maybe by SIC code, because that's a lot of times that's a big driver too, is the SIC code. So this is all managed by you. You can have as many location tags to a specific location or site as you would like. And what's great about these location tags and the location types is that they filter through into the analytics, which can help you with the annual reporting. And I will make sure to go over that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just click into a random site. Oh, one more thing before I go into that. I have been asked by some of the cities that may be on here about scheduling. So you do have the capability to schedule inspections, you know, even follow-up inspections, or just maybe your annual inspections. Be like, I need to inspect this on the first Monday of July, or whatever you would like to say. You can assign it to anyone internally, and then this will show up on their schedule within the application. I see this be used a lot for follow-up inspections, which is big within source control programs, because you do the inspection, you might identify a few deficiencies or potential discharges or pollutants, and then do a follow-up inspection. So you can utilize this for that as well. So let me go ahead and go into the actual site. And as I've really put a lot of emphasis on, having full visibility is really important, not just across your entire program, but on a site-by-site basis. Knowing what has happened on that site is really important, especially, you know, for reporting. You need to show like how much inspections you've done, how many, you know, what the deficiencies are. So you can see that on a site-by-site basis, as well as on overall, which I'll show that to you in a little bit. And it's really important when you go to a site, like, to know if there have been prior enforcements or issues. So you can very easily see this right here, that there was an enforcement. They got a written warning back in April. You can click into it and see if it's been closed out. You can see all of the inspections that have been done for this particular site. If you want to keep track of training, I did see that as a question, like, how do you keep track of training? On a site-by-site basis, you can create a training report. We also have a education module, which I will show, which can keep track of internal training as well as just public education outreach. But everything that you need for this particular site will be right here. So you can see all the site information, you can keep track of the permit, all of that, and then it's very easy to come in and do an inspection. You can keep track of site notes. Weather, I don't believe on terms of source control that weather is going to be extremely important, but I do know for like your outfalls and some other post-construction BMPs and flow control BMPs that you might have to have inspections done after a significant storm. So just so you know, we do have that full weather capabilities, and can track, you know, it can even alert you if there's been a significant storm event. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the inspection. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing the inspection, or when I'm doing this, is that we will take your inspection report and digitize it and match it exactly. I have a drop down of a few different types of inspections. In here, I will walk through one and then I'll show you an example of the other. And we can also do like NOVs or NOIs or anything like that, any type of form letters or permit or anything like that, we can get that set up too. And I will show you an example of an NOV permit, an NOV form letter that we built in the system. So when you're ready to do the inspection, regardless of whatever device you're on, it's going to look very similar to this. It's going to walk through the report very nicely. A lot of stuff will pre-fill from either the previous inspection or from the site level details, because we want to, you know, save as much time as possible. We don't want you inputting a lot of redundant data. So like all of the facility information can pre-fill. This is where our cities see the first ROI. They are being able to start and finish it in the field. So they say it typically saves them about 30 to 45 minutes per inspection, just on being able to do this in the field and not have to write it pen and paper and then put it in, go back to the office and put it all together. So this, I guess, once again, this is a type of, this is a type of form that we've set up. This is going to match whatever your form needs to look like. I know identifying the pollutant of concern, that's one of the big things that you guys are going to be doing. So, you know, we would just have a list of those different pollutants of concerns and you can have them selected. And then for future inspections, they will always stay there. The next page on this particular one is just literally like, these are the different source controls that they're tracking on. So whether they're, this one's just like categories, but they can be specific questions. They can be the actual BMP that's present. So it's whatever the way that yours is set up. But the way that this one is set up is literally, is there a deficiency present? Yes, no. And if they say yes, then you can just go ahead and create that deficiency. So you can see how easy it is to do that. So I'll just, you know, I'm just going to create a test deficiency. You name it, you state your observations. And the cool thing about this too is that it does work with talk to text if needed. You put what they need to do to fix it. And then we can tie it to specific management practice, which if measuring the effectiveness of BMPs and also just BMP categories is really important, which I believe it is through a lot of the permit that I've read, then we can work to create a grading scale for the BMPs. And I actually have a presentation that I believe Lori can attach that goes further into detail on how we can do BMP effectiveness and scoring. But you can just literally tie it to specific BMP category code. This will be from your guys' BMP codes. You can also select what type of deficiency is it? Is it major? Is it critical? Is it minor? And then if you're standing over that deficiency, you can set it to your current location, pull in the GPS coordinates. And then, of course, being able to take photos and have them attached right then and there is important as well. So this will prompt you, if you're on a tablet or a phone, it will prompt you to open up your camera or camera roll. Let me see, where are my deficiency photos? I'm just gonna select a random photo. And then you can add as many photos as you would like, but I'm just gonna add the one. And then you just keep on going on. So that's how easy it is to add a deficiency. You can add multiple deficiencies. You can say if it was actually complied on site, you can do that. That will close out that deficiency, but still record it because that's super important. But then you just keep on moving on through your different checklists. And once again, this is gonna match with what your checklist and workflow needs to be. And you can also see that unresolved deficiencies will stay on the inspection until they've been resolved. So let's say you're going in for your follow-up inspection. You can come here and now you can very easily see if this deficiency is still there, then maybe you need to escalate, maybe you need to do an enforcement. And it's very easy to track when that deficiency was created and if they haven't resolved it. So for example, this is a month-old deficiency. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to continue to go through the rest of this. This is, if there's, the way that this one's set up is additional information. I know, education over enforcement is going to be a big push. So putting what type of training material or education was left is something that our cities are really wanting to track. So that's what this one is doing. You can also say, when it needs to get re-inspected. We can even add the calendar here to actually assign a re-inspection to someone, and then being able to do the enforcement on the actual inspection. So I'll just say, yes, there's an enforcement, we'll just name the enforcement. I'm just gonna name it test 728. And we'll have a drop down of your enforcement level. So if it's a verbal warning, a written warning, and if it's a written warning, you can actually do the NOV through here as well. And like I said, I'll show that. But you can write anything and you can write what actions and the due date. So I'll just say test action. I'll say that it's due, let's say it by 8:05. And then, some general descriptions. You can certify as an inspector. So a lot of times this will pull in your information. So I can say use my signature. So yeah. And then we usually will always have an additional photos or observation page. That's what a lot of our clients have asked for. So I'm just going to put a random thing in here. Sometimes they use this for like education as well, like or like a good job photo or just a general site photo. So you can have as many of those as you would like. So once you're done with your inspection, and once again, keep in mind that this is going to be a custom inspection form to match yours. Once you're finished, you can either hit publish, which will save it onto the platform. Anyone with access to this platform will be able to download a PDF, or you hit publish an email, which is the recommendation. This will save it onto the platform, but also open up your email recipient list for this particular site so that you can get the actual report in the hands of whoever needs it, usually the site owner, or sometimes maybe a contractor or maintenance team or anything like that. You can get the report in their hands right away. They of course don't have to be a user. So I'll just say, inspection, please fix all action items by 8. Yeah, and then you just send it. And when they get it in their email, they would have a link to download the report. And then this is what this particular one looks like. And while I'm waiting for that to download, I had said I wanted to show you just an example of one other one. I'm not going to walk through the whole report, but I did see another inspection that might work. That might work as well for source control inspections. But here's an example of this one. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here's the example of this inspection. So, once again, we build it to match whatever your inspection form needs to look like. So this is talking about, some violations. It's very easy for them to see what needs to be done. They also can see if there was an enforcement. It shows it right here, the signature, and it has also like just the photos attached as well. That's what this particular one looks like. And then just to show you one other example, just real quick, the one thing I wanted to show on this one was that there is a way, this was asked of me before, it says, okay, with restaurants, a lot of times they're going to have a lot more questions because they have higher, they might have a higher level of pollutants, or you might need to do the fog or anything like that. we can actually, this is just another example of the way that the inspection can be done. So this one is actually more of a question with answers and comments, and then down at the bottom is where they add the deficiencies. But this one right here has this little button that says, is a restaurant inspection required? If I toggle this to yes, the cool thing is that you can then have another list of questions specifically related to the restaurant. So you can have one inspection form and have certain questions turn on or off depending on the type of business or SIC code it is. So that's another thing that a lot of our cities, appreciate. So this just shows you the customizations that can be done into the forms and the technology that's behind it. That's a big value that a lot of our clients that have looked at a lot of other programs, what they really appreciated about ours is true customization of inspection forms. But yeah, so this just shows you on this one, they list the deficiencies and the enforcement more towards the bottom for the whole report. So once again, it's really just up to you. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to actually finish that. I'm just going to abandon the draft. Okay. Keep in mind that all of our other programs are going to work very similarly, like I said. So if you are doing construction, you would do the construction site inspection, identify the deficiencies, do an enforcement, same thing with the outfalls. You can do a dry weather screening form. So really, while I'm only showing you the business inspection program, it works fairly similarly throughout all the other programs that you have turned on. Another big thing, with stormwater compliance, there's two big drives behind it. Ensuring that the inspections are being done and that deficiencies or action items are being identified and tracked, and actually getting those resolved and influencing better behavior. So ways that you can do this is, one, in terms of tracking the deficiencies or action items, whatever you call them. You can, of course, have them, they live in the report, but let's just say for some reason or other, there's a deficiency that's not getting resolved, or maybe it needs to get assigned to someone internally or within a maintenance department or anything like that. You can actually email these deficiencies outside of the system and allow for resolution through email. So I will show that, as I know our cities have sometimes utilized this. So you can pick which deficiencies that you're going to email from this site. So it might be all of them. I'm just going to select 2, and I'm going to allow deficiency resolution from email. And I'll just say, please fix these ASAP. Where I see this used more often is like in the outfalls or catch basins when there's maintenance required, and you don't want to have your entire maintenance department be on here. You can actually assign those maintenance items to the maintenance department without them having to have a user access onto CloudCompli. That's where I see it a lot of times. But if I send that email, then I'll real quickly go here. And while I'm doing that, I will check the chat just to, so are you able to take the photo while in the field and have it auto-populated? Yes, you are able to add photos throughout while you're doing the inspection and have that auto-populate onto that inspection form. So let's go ahead and, so if I come here it shows me that for this site, deficiencies were identified and sent to me. And once again, I don't have to be a user to see this. I can go ahead and hit view resolve deficiency. Anyone with this link will be able to see this. It's more of a public page, but only if they have the link, and they'll have everything that they need in order to fix this deficiency or help with this maintenance request, including if you GPS located, it will show the a satellite view or even a street view of where that deficiency was, what images, and then they can go ahead and, let me make sure I keep track of it. This is improper waste handling. So I can just say resolve, and it's gonna have them fill in their name, and then it's going to grab their email, and I'll just say, maybe they needed to replace secondary containment and bins and trash bins. replaced. I replaced them, and then they can show a picture of that. So I obviously don't have a good picture of that. So I'm just going to choose a random one, but hopefully they're like actually on site and took a picture of the fix, and then hit save. And now when I go back onto that site, if I come to deficiencies, I believe I had 4 before, now I have 3, but don't worry, we are a big believer in tracking everything. So here's that improper waste handling. It was resolved by this email on this date. And if I click into it, it will show me everything that has happened. So this is another big, drive, is influencing behavior, getting deficiencies resolved in a quicker manner, and getting them tracked. So that's what this is helping with. So you can do this on a site-by-site basis. We also have a general summary page of deficiencies. So I'm going to go into that in 1 second. I am keeping an eye on the chat box throughout. So if you do have questions that you feel like are relevant right this second, I will go ahead and address those. While I wait on that, I do want to show you, I had mentioned how you could do like a form letter and actually do an NOV. I know that's another big thing. You need to keep track of your inspections, but you also need to keep track of any documentation showing enforcement, and written warnings, verbal warnings, all of that. So I'm actually just going to go into, I don't have an NOV set up on my source control program, so I got to go into my construction program. But if I come here, you do it the same way. You would create inspection. And I would come here and we have the NOV letter set up. So just literally select that. And because it's a form letter, you're not really having to fill very much in. It's going to pull in the general information, site contact, site details from the site, and then what the violation details are. You can have drop downs here. So a lot of times we have drop downs or fill-ins. This is pulling from the observed violation. So it's pulling from the deficiency, and then corrective actions and all of that. So if I go ahead and just leave it as is, I'll just publish and I'll show you what that is. Show you what that looks like. So this is what this is one that we built for our client. And so it literally is a form letter that is exactly what they provide to them when they have a notice of violation. And of course we can highlight things, you can change certain things, so that's how you keep track of all of that. Okay, so I know one other thing that was going to be focused on was just outfalls and just general asset management. So I will say we're not an asset management system, but we do have some asset management capabilities. So we can keep track of all of your outfalls. You can also very easily see, how many have been inspected. I think that you guys might have to do like 20% or 25%. It just depends on your guys' permit. You might have to do it every 2 years, every 5 years. So you'll very easily be able to see. And we've even had clients that have used like the fiscal year for the location tag so that you can quickly see, okay, for fiscal year 2020, which outfalls have we still not done? And also I know like in terms of just keeping track of the outfall measurements as well as the material type is something that's big, and that's something that we can add to these columns as well. So that's from outfalls. And then we have fixed assets. We can keep track of anything in here and we would just sort it by location type. So this could be everything from municipal owned facilities such as those storage yards, material storage, or just public works yards that might have a SWIP that have to get inspected annually. It could just be your LIDs, it can be inlets, it can be anything, and we can add different time-based requirements and different workflows, and then you can have everything all in one place. So, and if you're out in the fields, you can actually add it right then and there out in the field and use the GPS coordinates. So I do know one of my cities is doing that to add all of their drain inlets, I believe. So And then of course, once again, you can do inspections, assessments, maintenance, records on that in the same, in a very similar manner that you did on, that I showed on the source control program, but obviously the questions would be different. So yeah, so that's kind of everything I'm going to show in terms of actually doing the inspections. I wanted to save a little bit of time to quickly go over some of the annual reporting and analytics, and then leave some time for Q&A at the end as well. So, you know, one big thing is you have everything all in one place, or as much as you can in one place, and we make sure that we have analytics to support that, to pull information that you might need for your annual report, as well as just some general trend analysis. We also have some summary pages as well. Oh, one thing I didn't go into, and I apologize. We do have the IDDE program. I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I know that IDDE is really important, but just so you know, we would take your investigation form, the fields that you need from the to report to the Department of Ecology, and set that up here, and you would go through the investigation the same. It's very similar to the way you would do an inspection, except it would be here in the investigations program. And then you would be able to download that and submit that to the Department of Ecology, and then you would have a summary of everything here. So what I'll do is I'll send some screenshots of our IDDE program for Lori to keep on there as well. I'm going to check the chat. E and O. Oh, education outreach. Okay. Yeah, so sorry, education outreach. Thank you. I will go ahead and go over that right here. So we have a few different ways that we can do public education outreach. As I showed you before, on a site-by-site basis, you can keep track of training logs, and then you can even run a report that says, okay, show me all of the training logs that I've done for the year. So you can keep it on there on the site-by-site basis, but you can also, we have a public education outreach module where we could set up these different interactions. And this is once again all customizable about what we're capturing, but it's very easy. You would just add a new interaction. You would select what type of event it is. So it could be a public education event. It could be just outreach in general, pamphlets, especially now in this, COVID age, we're doing a lot more pamphlets, a lot more online training. So we can set that up here. And then you would just select what you're doing. So I'll select a public education event. And then you can keep track, like maybe I sent a brochure out to all new, development, maybe new homes. You can associate it with a tag if you would like. You can put what the brochure was. So we could say, proper waste disposal. We'll just say it was a brochure. You can add any other comments, and then you would say impressions. So this is tracking how many people that it was sent out to. So let's just say we sent it out to like 2 new home developments, multi-home facilities, and we'll just say that there is, across the 2 of them, we'll say that there's 1,000 households. And then you hit submit. And now if I come into here, if I go back into education, that will show here. It will, wait, I'll do it by date. So here it is right here. It shows the name. It shows how many impressions. So you can do that for public education events. You can also just do for training. Maybe you did a training for certain contractors. You can, an internal training. You can do that by just adding, once again, a new interaction and do more of a training. Hit select. And then this one could track not only the, I'll just say that this was an internal training for the Stormwater Division. You can give it a certain tag if you would like. I'm going to say I'm just going to give it Jason's project tag. We'll say it was today, 7/28/2020. We'll say that it was a 2-hour presentation, and then we'll just do stormwater general training. If it was approved, whatever you need to capture, and we can even say who the instructor was, and then you can add like individual like resumes. Usually it's just like the attendee list, and you can just keep track of all of that, as well as like if there's any classifications or if there was any training hours that went along with it, like CEUs or anything like that. So or professional development hours. So yeah, those are the two different, well, that's just the two ways that are set up in here, but there's a lot of, it's basically however your education program is set up, we can work with it to set up different interaction types and what you need to capture. I hope that answered the question. Oop, oh no, what happened? Let's see, there we go. All right. Wait, am I still sharing my screen? I don't see the little thing anymore.
No, you're not sharing your screen anymore.
Okay. All right, let me share the screen again. All right. Oh wait. This is the one I want. Okay. All right, now are you able, am I sharing my screen again, and it's the CloudCompli platform?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hopefully they answer the question about education outreach. In terms of annual reporting, we have a few different areas that is important for annual reporting. So we've got some of our summary pages. So you saw me earlier do an enforcement during an inspection. Some key things about the inspections, as you might have noticed, is that it doesn't stop and end with the inspections. Like that deficiency that I identified during the inspection, it lived in that report, but it also filtered in and showed on the actual site page. Same thing with enforcement. Any enforcement that I created, whether it's during an inspection, whether I do it here or during an IDDE, it all filters through into here. So so this enforcement test, I didn't create a new enforcement, I just kind of edited one that I already had done. So, but they would flow into here. And so then you would have a list of all of your enforcements, whether they're open or not, outstanding actions. So you would very easily be able to track all of the enforcements that have happened and that are open in general to close them. But also for annual reporting, this is something that you need to keep track of, is like all of the different enforcements that you did. So you have that on this page, and then you also have an analytic around it, which I'll show that too. We have the same thing with deficiencies, because we know that, tracking corrective actions and maintenance and activity and any other action items is really important. And that will all filter through in deficiencies. So we have this deficiency summary page. One of the things that, most of our clients need to see is, let's just say for your source control program, and that's your industrial and commercial sites program, you need to see all of the deficiencies that happened in, we'll just say in this fiscal year. So 07/01, 2019 through 06/31, 2020. And then we can even separate it by tags if you would like, or by management practice. I'm going to leave it as is. And then that gives me a smaller list. So now I have 12 deficiencies, and then you can see the name of the deficiency, the location that it's tied to, if it's open or closed. Actually, hold on. I have it only on open. So now I can see it from resolve. So now I have 19. So I can, and you can sort this however you would like. You can export this to Excel. But this is one of the things that I know that you guys have to capture on your annual report, is the action items and, how many you identified for each program, and how, how are they resolved and all of that. So all of that information is here. So this is one of the ways that we can help with the annual reporting. We also have a lot of pre-built analytics that you can go into as well. So a simple one, just a simple count, which you guys will need to keep track of, is location types overview. No, this is not. This is a simple one, but it's locations overview. So you can have this and you can see it for all of the programs, or you can separate it. So maybe you just want to see, once again, for your industrial and commercial sites, your business program. And you can say, I'll just say for last quarter to date. You can sort by location types and location tags if you would like, but I'm going to leave it as is. And now I can see, okay, I have 9 locations, I've done 10 inspections, and I had 3 deficiencies. And then you can see down below, you'll have the actual list of the how many reports were done for each site, and how many deficiencies were identified. So I believe you guys might have like you might need the counts. You can also utilize this to get your, making sure that you're getting your 20% of business inspections done. You might know how many inspections you have to do to get to that 20%. You can export this to Excel and then add a total column. So there's a lot that you can do with, and this is just a simple analytic of, of just some simple counts. We also have more intensive analytics that start to go more into trend analysis and dive deeper into the data. A good example of that is, let's do deficiencies mean time to resolution, because I did see that influencing behavior and being able to show like how are you going to improve your program for the next year is important. So you can utilize this. This is more getting into trend analysis. And I can say, okay, I want to see for last year. Once again, you can do it for a certain program. I'm going to say, I'm going to look at my industrial and commercial sites and my fixed assets and outfalls. Let's say those 3. I can hit apply. Really? Okay, I'm not going to select a program because apparently I didn't do any inspections last year on those programs. Yeah, it doesn't look like it did. And then this is, this can show you how long is it taking to resolve action items, whether that's deficiencies or maintenance. And the trend you want to see is going down, right? And our clients say that they actually do see that trend from utilizing CloudCompli, because it's increasing the visibility, it's getting the deficiencies or action items in the hands of the right people, so it's influencing good behavior, and then also identifying some of your trouble spots. So then you can see in Q1, it was taking me some 230 days to resolve deficiencies, where in Q2 is starting to take 40 days. Obviously yours is not going to be that big of a jump, but you can start to see some of this trend. And then down below you have the supporting information, and you can sort it by management practice name. So this is where, your source controls come into play. Each source control has its own BMP code, and you can sort it and say, okay, which source controls are our sites having trouble with? And maybe that's where you can focus some of your education, or you can identify your trouble sites too. Like right here off the bat, I can see that Bristol Street construction project is one of my troubled sites. They literally probably take up the first 2 pages or 3 pages of my deficiencies. So then I can see, do I need to, does that need more enforcement? Is there more education, outreach that needs to be done? What needs to be done there? So that's just going even further into the analytics. But yeah, there's a lot of other things that I was, for sake of time, that I wasn't able to show. We have outfalls. You can do your dry weather screening. We have wet weather sampling, monitoring, all of that too. So I guess in short, to wrap up, that the fact that I'm not able to show all of that, that just lets you know that if there is something that I didn't cover, like just let me know, and I can send you maybe some screenshots or show you how we can actually handle it. Because I would say 95% of the time, if it's related to the MS4 program, we're able to handle it. All right, I'm going to go to the chat. Is there ability to check monthly or annual events such that you don't need to recreate them each time? Yeah, so in terms of the inspections and what you're tracking, that's completely up to you. So I showed an example of where you're doing inspection and re-inspection, but like, let's say you might only need to do an annual inspection on an outfall, and it's a one-time thing. Like we would just set up those, we would just set up the inspection, we set up the site, however it would match with you. And then Department of Ecology, sorry, I'm just reading these questions. The Department of Ecology requires a zipped XML file format for IDDE reporting, as well as 12 specific questions. So we would set up the specific questions, we would set it up to have those questions on there, and then we would just have to format it to whatever's showing in the for export to be able to export that into the proper format, which is something that we would go ahead and do. I'm not able to show that to you on this demo, but yes, we can do that. And then for ballpark costs and okay, so costs, I'm more than happy to have a discussion offline. The reason being is that the cost is done per user. And so it really just depends on how many people are going to be utilizing it. And then of course there's just price discounts as the number goes higher. We are going to be competitive with pricing, you know, so that definitely I'm more than happy to have a discussion offline about the pricing. In terms of how many hours of staff training is included, so typically we do about 2 trainings. For this, we do an admin level training that's usually about an hour. And then we do an actual staff and inspector training that's usually like an hour and a half. And we do record those as well so that you can always have access to that. And let's say that there does at some point need a retraining, you can we're always more than happy to jump on. So hopefully that answers all the questions. If there's, you know, if there's any questions around the pricing, or if you would like to get a proposal, like I said, more than happy. I'm going to type my email here. You guys probably also all have it, but I'll just put it here. So if you ever do have additional questions or would like more information on the pricing, please feel free to reach out. That's my email, and this is my direct line. But we, you know, we're very focused on MS4s, and we're very focused on the growth of our MS4 program. We do think that we are the best fit. We have had great results within California, and I'm more than happy to give references to those, well, across the nation, actually. I know a common question is, do we have anyone in Washington? We don't actually. If I'm being completely transparent, we don't have anyone currently in Washington, but we are definitely set up to be able to handle your permit and have the flexibility to customize the forms. And if there is like I said, if there's a feature missing, because we're really driven on growth, that is something that we would put into our product roadmap. So hopefully I was able to show everything. I know we're over that hour, but if there's any other questions, you know, please feel free to put them here, or you can always reach out to me separately. And